AllBall TV.
They scared, but I'm not.
They don't like comentario.
Y suscribe.
But you know who showed their face yesterday? Big Queen's in the building. We salute him when we give him some profitable stuff. Your guy, Dom. Big Magic out here talking big things. Flaming the Ant-Man for talking spicy about his crew, his era.
That there really wasn't any skilled players in the NBA back in the day outside of Michael Jordan. That's what he said. Your response to that, Irvin Magic Johnson?
Well, I don't never respond to a guy that's never won a championship. It's not nothing to really say. He didn't win a college championship. I don't know if he even won a high school championship. So for me, until you have achieved, right? And
the clip ends there.
We didn't even get the rest of the answer.
They ain't get into all that, Don. We want the Bochinche. We ain't care about all the rest of the details. He said you didn't win a championship in high school. Holla at me some other time. You too small. You Ant-Man. I'm Magic. I'm the Magic Man. Oh boy, you off screen, man. What's going on? What did you react to this when you heard the Magic Man flame Ant-Man?
I love it. These young dudes, they still wet behind the ears, breath still smelling like Similac, and they be talking too crazy and too spicy. I'm tired of the new generation and the disconnect. Flea said it the other day. The disconnect between the young and the new is getting out of control. I'm an old head, so I'm not gonna just take the old guy side because some of them hate a little bit too. But the younger today's generation, they literally show no respect to the older generation. And for Ant-Man to say what he said was totally wrong. And for a guy like Magic Johnson, who seems like he doesn't really get into this type of stuff. To me, he uplifts, great businessman. Like I said, call him Magic the Big Smile. So for him to respond like that, I'm pretty sure everybody else at his caliber that played back then feels the same way. And this is why I always reserve putting Ant-Man in that light. It showed it in the Olympics that he wasn't ready. And it showed as far as intellectual and basketball IQ, knowing the history of the game, to make a silly comment like that. This is why he's not ready to be the face of the league. And this is why he struggles on the court, because if you know your history and know the game, you know what you said is dead wrong. So I love what Magic said. I love how Magic responded. And like I said before, God rest his soul. Rest in peace, the great. He lucky my man Jerry West ain't still alive, because Magic took it light on him for the little bit we seen. I'm pretty sure Jerry West would have roasted him. And I'm very disappointed in Ant-Man, but I'm also disappointed in the elders of this generation, Steph, LeBron, KD, Westbrook, because I think guys like that can come out and say something as well. Like, hey, Ant-Man, you can't really be talking like that. Do your history first and maybe give him a little tutorial of the guys that played in that era that did have skill. Because once again, I think Ant-Man, he's mistaken skill for athleticism. I said it before. If he said athleticism, okay, I give you that. But when we talking skill, no disrespect, ain't a lot of skilled players today. A lot of athletic players today. But ain't no, you know what I mean? So I'm glad Magic checked him. And if I'm Ant-Man, you leave it right there. You see Drake ain't respond back to Kendrick, right? Ant-Man, do not respond back to Showtime. You would get your feelings hurt. So big shout out to Magic Johnson for setting the record straight. Man, Ant-Man, you played yourself.
Flea. Dom, you see Flea over here just salivating at you. Got his claws out.
I mean, I think Magic was well in his right to say what he said, right? I just think that first of all, I look at who he's sitting with. That's first.
I look at who he's sitting with. So I see who he's sitting with.
Big Queens.
Of course, Big Queens, yeah, whatever. But I see who he's sitting with, and I already know that now he's gonna lean into funny, or lean into popping shit, or leaning into saying something that's going to go viral, right? Leaning into something that somebody's gonna discuss. Because you're saying with him, so you're gonna say something that's gonna be fly, right? I always look at environment, who you talking to, right? If somebody else said that to Magic, if a D Wade said that to Magic, if a contemporary said that to Magic, I think the response would have been different. Now, did what he said was wrong? No, absolutely not. It was right. I just think that, again, I'm gonna lean on what I said the other day. The disconnect is getting too crazy between the youth and the old school players, right? And I think for me, the old school players come from an era where they know nothing about this social media, who clapping back and all of this and that. They're coming into an arena that is new to them, right? We're talking about kids that grew up on the internet. Ant-Man and his crew, that is the first like generation, or maybe the generation before them. KD and them is really like the generation that grew up in this social media era. They've been taking it in their entire lives. Magic ain't from that. Jerry West ain't from that. Bird, Zeke, them, Kareem, they're not from that. So when they start to lean into that, I think it's corny, because now you have an opportunity to school Ant-Man. We didn't hear the whole soundbite, but he could have started. Go ahead.
Hold on, Flea. I'm gonna give an example. You see how every time Floyd Mayweather, when he talks about, the greatest boxers, his top 5 or whatever, how he leaves out Muhammad Ali, and you see how some of the guys come to Ali's aid, rest in peace, the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
Ant-Man is smart enough to know what he's doing, whether it's clickbait or not. If you're in that profession, it's no way in the world you can say that. So I'm saying, where's the Mellows? Where's his so-called stepbrother now, KD, straightening him out? So for me, I put the blame on everybody. Because once again, when Floyd tried that mess, everybody backs to Muhammad Ali like, hold on, bro, you losing your mind. So for Ant-Man to be able to say that, be comfortable saying that, so whoever he did on whatever platform and don't get checked right there, nah, man, you can't do that. So Flea, I disagree with you. I don't care what era you grew up in, whether it's the social media era or not. You cannot say that when you're 100% wrong.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying Ant-Man is right or wrong. You bridging the gap, because you're saying Steph should have said something, KD should have said something. That era, the guys that are the big brothers to them right now should be stepping in and saying something. 1,000%, I agree with that. But I'm saying these old niggas could take an opportunity and say, okay, yeah, there was a lot of skilled players, and Magic played with a bunch of them and played against a bunch of them. We didn't get a chance to really hear everything, but that could have been an opportunity to offer some schooling to this young man. That's what I'm saying, right? Why lean into, well, he hasn't won anything. He's 22 years old. You're right. He hasn't won anything. Everybody's not privileged like you, brother, to come into the league and win a championship, or for winning an NCAA championship. You one of one. Everybody don't do that. So you standing on something we all know. We know that. I'm just saying he could have leaned into saying, hey, Adrian Dantley, super skilled. Mark Aguirre, super skilled. We start talking about guys, you know what I'm saying? That could have been an opportunity.
Pull that a little bit lighter. Don, what you think, man? Jump in there, man.
Well, Anthony Edwards is wrong. He's younger than me. He even said that he didn't even like watching basketball that much a couple years ago. He said he enjoys football more. If you can find that quote, Fabian, that would be amazing. But he was saying like it's too soft for him or something. So I doubt Anthony Edwards is very into the history of basketball and knowledgeable about the history of basketball. So I don't really think what he says about it has any validity at all, quite frankly. It's another, as AllBall said, another instance of a younger player just speaking when he doesn't know. He literally admits in the quote he didn't see it, and then he can't speak on it, and then he speaks on it, which is hilarious. But as far as Magic's response, I mean, I like that he got petty like that because it's funny, and these people are out of, these kids are out of control now. But Flea is right in the sense that we haven't seen the full clip, but it would have been better if he started naming some names, educate him, instead of just saying that, because that just feels like you're matching his level of pettiness. And as Flea said, Ant-Man came into one of the worst franchises in NBA history, if you're talking actual success, and Magic was a result of a trade that the Lakers got that number 1 pick. So, but yeah, Ant-Man's still in the wrong for saying what he said. I like seeing Magic get a little petty because I think he tries to keep it so like nice all the time nowadays, but he could have educated him a little better. But it's funny to see. I just think this stuff has become ridiculous. This old school, new school, it's out of control. And people don't actually want to put in the time. They just want to talk.
They don't watch.
I don't think it's ever been in control. I don't think it's ever been in control, please. This is Ant-Man's comments. What you talking about, Don? Anthony Edwards says he can't watch basketball, would rather play in the NFL, and is an aspiring rapper.
But
to be honest, I can't watch basketball.
This is what I'm saying, man. These kids come into the game, these kids come into the league, and they don't love the game. Yo, I just had big shout out to Anthony Ireland. I just had Anthony Ireland on my podcast. Big shout out to All We Live, right? Had Anthony Ireland on All We Live. He played at Loyola Marymount University, Hall of Famer there at LMU, Hall of Famer in his high school, Hall of Famer at his prep school. Like,
when did he play? What era are we talking?
We talking from 2010 to 2014.
Okay, wow.
So he's been playing professionally overseas for the last 10 years. I'm only bringing him up because I just recently had him on the show last week. And what he said was his pops played, professionally as well. Came up under his pops. His pops asked him at 8 or 9 years old, like, do you love the game? He was like, yeah, I love the game. He's like, nah. My pops asked me, looked me eye to eye, asked me, no. Do you love the game? Like, do you love playing? And he had to think about
Valerie,
what he was saying.
Stop slamming stuff.
And you know what I'm saying? Like he had to think about what he was saying. And he just flat out was like, yo, I really love the game. So it's a big difference than just, liking the lifestyle that it brings and actually loving the game. Now it comes into question, does Anthony Edwards really love the game of basketball, or is he just good at it and plays it?
I think he loves playing, and he is good at it. But I don't know if he loves the whole thing. And I think there's a lot of players like that nowadays, more than ever before. So many distractions. You can consume basketball in so many ways, and you don't have to watch full games. And it's just the culture is completely changed. That's one thing I'm realizing, Flea, and now that I'm working with kids that play basketball, young hoopers, bro, none of these guys ask me about the NBA. They do not watch full games. They do not even talk about the games that are happening. Back in the day when I was a kid, bro, we used to go to the park and we'd be talking. After we stopped playing pickup, we were talking hoops. These kids have no interest except for a couple of them. And it's wild to me that they all play basketball. Some know that I do this, some don't. I don't really go all out and talk about that. But they don't ask me anything. Mind you, this is a generation of kids that is growing up in Los Angeles that has never even seen Kobe pre-Achilles. And they don't ask me questions about him.
Have no clue about him.
But they all he's like a deity to them. He's like, they wear his shoes and he's this legend, but they never really seen him play like that. And you damn know they're not watching full old games because they're not even watching current full games. Dude, TikTok, Instagram, I mean, they think because watching highlights will show them the picture. Enough for them to be able to talk about it at school, but nah, man, it's not the same at all.
OG got a son playing right now. OG, what is like, and if you can speak to it, like, what is your son's level of interest in basketball that came before him? Like what? Because isn't he like 18, 19 years old? He's playing right now. So
he's 18 and he loves the game. And when I break it down to him, like you got to watch everybody, and he looks forward to watching old games, YouTube, and the old guys. Like he knows about Larry Bird. Know what I mean? And he, after a while, he took it upon himself. He loves the game, and he just loves watching it and learning it. And when you talk to him, if he don't know nothing, he's going to be honest, but he's not going to say nothing crazy because he knows. There's guys that was before KD and Kobe. There were guys before Jordan and Bird. And to me, it's not even about who's better, who's not. I'm just saying, I like how Magic responded. The little bit we seen, because I'm being honest with you, this generation, they only respect ignorance. You can't teach them nothing. They don't want to be taught nothing. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes you got to be petty with them because all they respect is, like Magic said, I don't know what y'all talking about, but the skill we had, we went in college, high school, and the pros. Sometimes you got to do that. God rest soul, Jerry West. Look how he showed up. Your man, JJ Redick. Yeah, it might have been petty, but sometimes that's all they respect is petty. You can't talk to them and school them about nothing. So yeah, just Fleet, great question. I just feel, that's why I say the guys that Ant-Man look up to need to school him. Just how I school my son. Like my son, just real quick, before basketball, he loved wrestling.
Okay.
And I said, bro, it was some guys before these guys. Before The Rock and them, it was Hulk Hogan and Sting and all them guys and the Iron Sheiks and you get what I'm saying, Jake the Snakes and
don't get Fabian started.
Right. Now I mean, so I just feel, it's up to the OGs now to school these guys, man. And yeah, it's a joke, but now don't get mad at Magic when he spit his fire. Because Magic got every right to say what he say and be super petty. Because let's be realistic. These are the same guys that say Steph Curry's the greatest point guard ever. And we know damn well Magic ain't trying to hear that. So it's a lot behind this with this younger and older generation.
Yeah, Magic might be tired. Magic might be a little tired.
Exactly. Fabian, your thoughts on Magic's response?
I think we always need pettiness. Isaiah and Michael Jordan been beefing for 40 years. Hilarious. It shows you nothing changed. Like Ant-Man is the new thing. He's the new it factor in the game. And he needs the guy from back in the day to show him. The guy who really, it's him and Magic and Bird that started this thing. On live, they changed it from tape delay to live TV. You ain't do that, Ant-Man. Like Magic could have really got into his bag. You ain't Ant-Man without me. So, like you guys said, we didn't get to watch the rest of the video. The only thing I'm disappointed in is that whole championship thing. I always think that that's stupid and it's funny. It made for a good soundbite, but he could have gotten to a better bag. That's why I always respect when Jerry West said, "What did you do to impact the outcome of a game?" I will repeat that for the rest of my life to JJ Redick. Are you crazy? Because the competitive nature comes out. And again, we always talk about his competition. They don't feel any different than you did, Ant-Man. Like, look at this Isaiah Thomas quote. And Flea, you're going to love this, Flea. Somebody replied to him and said, so they ain't getting faster and stronger today? The 7-footers not moving differently? It's not more than 6-7 players moving like 6-footers? Isaiah Thomas, the great Zeke Isaiah Thomas responded, they look faster today because of the rule change, which prohibits holding and hand checking to impede progress. In football, for example, wide receivers can play the middle of the field without fear and rack up more yardage. Today, the rules favor quarterbacks and receivers, which is all I've ever said. But this is something that I don't know if Ant-Man will even understand, and because he respects KD more clearly than Isaiah Thomas and Magic Johnson and anybody else. Those are the guys that really hold responsible because they started all this. Well, LeBron and I'm better than Jordan because I said so business. It's like, nah, there's an argument here. And your little fan base ain't going to trick us into nothing. We watched the game. Yeah, I respect Magic just coming out and saying something. I always hated the whole championship thing because to your point, Flea, you were drafted by an elite team. You don't have to go deal with Minnesota like Ant-Man and Kevin Garnett. You know what I'm saying? But they weren't disrespectful and, I love it because it gets us started. It gets Dom going because he gets to dip into his traditional historical bag. But for the most part, I love it because, bro, this is where we come from. This is what we grew up idolizing, and it wasn't for no reason. That's the problem that I don't like. We gotta teach these young whippersnappers.
But
We wasn't looking up to no bums.
right,
Chill out.
that's the other thing. Like, you know, when we respected greatness. Like, we respected greatness. Like, I've always told y'all, like, you know what I'm saying? My pops always tell me, when you go in a room full of older people, especially older men, yo, you guys shut up for a minute. Shut up and just listen for a little bit. Take in what's going on. Because they got some stuff for you. They got some stuff. Now, you could leave what you want, take what you need, but the fact of the matter is they just know more because they just been here longer, right? That's just what it's about. They just have more wisdom. And you know what I'm saying? Instead of this young generation, especially when we talking about basketball, stop being so quick to talk and say something and be fly. Like, I'm sure Ant-Man was in a capacity where it was something funny, like you said, a cool soundbite. What were you really talking about that you actually said Michael Jordan was the only skilled player in that era? That sounds nuts. That just sounds irresponsible. That's what it sounds. It sounds irresponsible. It lets us know, like Don was saying, it lets us know that you are not really a student of the game. You're not watching basketball. You're not going back and really looking at, like, what was going on then. What could I have learned? Who paved the way? Like, he wasn't doing that clearly.
But I think it does lend itself now on Twitter. We got this divide. Shout out to Coach Millie on Dom when he reposted Sedell threats. I don't know if it's threats or threats. And then Nick
Sedell
Van
three.
Axel Sedell threes. Nick Van Axel comes underneath there and siding with his guy. Nick the Quick. You ain't telling us he wasn't nice to have and wasn't skilled. So it allows us to put this on display because this is gonna go on forever. That's the other thing we gotta get off of too as an older crowd. Dom, use a diplomat out here for the older generation. But we got to get over all this. Like, we kept blaming the new generation being on social media and all that. But all I see is these older people acting a fool on social media too.
That's what I'm saying. They lean in. That was my point earlier. They lean into, you know what I mean, what it is today. Like, I'm saying, you can't get away from it because it just is what it is. But now they are taking advantage of it and, you know, doing what they do. So, I don't know. There needs to be.
Yeah.
Go ahead, OG.
Real quick, hey Dom, if you was up there, give us some names to respond to Ant-Man in the Jordan era that was skilled.
Obviously, I'm not as well versed in the Jordan era as you guys. So I don't know. Clyde Drexler, Nick Van Exel, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. I think Patrick Ewing is skilled. David Robinson, Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill. I mean, this is stupid. Like, I just feel dumb even saying all these things. Like, and even acknowledging that there's too many skilled players. But I think AllBall, you would be a better person. You know the 90s better than me. I know the 60s and the 70s pretty well, but the 90s, I haven't watched the full games like that. And you know me, I don't like talking about shit when I don't really know it like that.
I mean, look
like
at
Ant-Man.
But look at this is just real quick, y'all. This is where Ant-Man throws me, right? Look at Michael Jordan's teammates. He played with Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, two of the most skilled players. You know, if you talk about top 100 skilled players ever, those two guys' names are going to come up. If I'm not mistaken, Charles Barkley, Clyde Drexler, Hakeem Olajuwon. Like, it's just like, come on, bro. Then we're not even talking about he played in the era with Isaiah Thomas, with Larry Bird,
with Magic Johnson.
You're like yeah. So you know what I mean. Then you have Carmelo, you got John Stockton, and it's like that's why I say I just hope he misunderstood skill for athletic, because he had to mean that, because there's no way in the world you can name skill when look at what Reggie Miller was doing. That's a skill. We can laugh at Reggie Miller all we want, but Reggie Miller is top 10 greatest shooting guards all time.
Shooters.
Speaking of shooters, and speaking of top shooters we've ever seen, Klay Thompson might be at the front of the list this offseason for biggest off-season moves.
AllBall TV. They scared, but I'm not. They don't like comentario.
Y suscribe.